Attention please, attention please. Tom Martin, will you please report to the show manager's office? Tom Martin, please report to the show manager's office.
Just about, yeah. It was like, I added the one more $100 less.
They're always busy. Busy restaurants. Mine is the show. Just get it over. What you do? We're gonna pick off the racks. It's about visiting me like.
It's all right.
That's how we get back to school.
Okay. Spread out, pets! Guys, spread out, pets! Here! Guys, spread out! Come! Sir, Mr. Photo Person. Women in scanty clothing, signing photographs.
Attention, attention. Fred Birchmore, please report to the show manager's office. Fred Birchmore, report to the show manager's office. Lee, Charles Best, Steve Rude, and many others will be auctioned. Come and stop by before 2 o'clock and watch the artists as they craft their works. Again, that's at 2 p.m. at the back of aisle 1800 for the charity art auction.
I do have a business card with the Coleman Rod.
No rings.
Magneto.
Maybe even make a step out into the mainstream market or independent market. The problem with this is it's a limited community. You know, there's like 300 people, and it fluctuates a lot. They all trade. It has its own little network of review zines and things like that. You can send an incidental review, and you know, people are really friendly. How I used to put it, it's really easy to become a big fish in a little pond. You know, I was showing this around for years. I mean, I was kind of stubborn that I wanted to stay on this character. And, you know, some of the companies liked it, but, you know, they didn't feel there was a market for it. So I started publishing it this way, sending it around to companies. Now I go to those booths, and they know me. They know my work. You know, again, they don't know if they can sell this, but a lot of them support it. They really like it. I've gotten a lot of nice words. Being having a booth here has been great. And like I said, I'm making a step now to the direct sales market with the book, so I hope it does okay. And so I'm more, when I talk about self-publishing, I'm going to be talking more to people who are just starting out. Maybe the material isn't like professional quality, but I can give you information on how to get involved in a small press and maybe stepping over into direct sales.
of you have published dash cams? Okay. How many of you want to publish an dash can or just get into publishing? The real printer.
Well, it is as much as like if you want to have a color cover, that's gonna. I've been learning a lot on the go. I've been waiting for a while, writing my time when to go independent because I've been thinking about it for a while. I've been waiting so long though, I decided just to jump into it. I went to run to a few minor snafus. I'm still kind of making my way around, but you're learning a lot. So, but the one thing about there's a whole, like I said, there's a whole community. I mean, I think even prior to covers, there's people doing this, but again, they are a little removed from mainstream fandom. So I think they do it primarily through the mail and things like that, and they have their own, like I said, they have their own review zines. A lot of those people don't break out; their work doesn't get seen. I've been lucky because I sent my work around because I would like to go outside of that small press group, primarily because my subscriptions and the interest I've gotten has grown beyond that limited network, and I think I've already begun to spill out into the mainstream market. But don't go into small press necessarily thinking, yeah, I will go. Because a lot of people just stay there, they're happy there, I've been happy there. But it's a question of, I do want to grow, and the book has been growing, so.
I guess a big introduction to probably the most successful self-publisher out there, Jim Valentino. Publisher, writer, creator, and he stands on the street selling it, of Shadow Mark. Yeah. A few words.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Jim Valentino. I Dream to Excess, create a public nuisance. I sell funny books. I started in small press at Kinko's, places like that, making little tiny 8-page books. Went from there to underground comics, went from underground comics to alternative comics, went from alternative comics to animation, and then to Marvel Comics, and then I formed this little company with a couple of buddies of mine. That's about it.
I was on a similar panel last year, Dave Simpson, that kind of review on the panel. One thing he did stress is that it also takes a lot of work. I mean, doing this, you're not just being an artist, you're being a publisher. You're working with the printers, you're promoting it. So, I mean, you talked about a lot about commitment, things like that. You can't just got one issue. You have to keep pushing it, keep coming out with a new product, things like that. So it's also about just simple.
Yeah, boy.
Well, that's what I think Ben is referring to as the dust settlement. There's a lot of new things starting up now, and nobody knows which thing is going to really have legs, which thing is going to endure. I think that's up to the individuals involved. I think she has a lot of attention. All these different kinds of books, so many different kinds of books. How many people are artists who have shown like an editor some work and were absolutely convinced that this editor had no idea what a good comic book was? I mean, that's what this is all about. You don't need to show this stuff to anybody. You can go straight to people. You can get these things printed. There's a whole different subject here, but I mean, the computer networks, you can upload comics. You don't even need paper in another few years. But I mean, nobody starts drawing, and particularly nobody starts drawing comics because they want to listen to somebody. Like if we listened to our parents, we wouldn't be drawing comics to begin with. So why do we want to listen to some bozo in a Batman T-shirt tell us, or somebody in a necktie from somewhere, that this is what you should work on, and this is what you should develop, and this is, well, we could sell this, or whatever. I mean, and we should probably gear this panel maybe to some of the more nuts and bolts steps to getting to that point.
People want to know.
All right.
That's the important.
Okay.
Get written up in some of these places. I think a lot of Jeff's success has to do with him getting write-ups in CBG and Wizard and all these other places. Somebody.
Yeah, I can attest to some of that. I mean, someone asked about advertising. I didn't do any for my book, frankly. I mean, I kind of regret it. I mean, I couldn't afford expensive ads anyway. But so you can ask me about 2 months if I did it. Myself really bad. I started out, and I was small press, and I was actually really weary about even having a table here the first year because I've heard other small press artists having a really bad time at other cons because they've been in other rooms, people just walking by, not paying attention, they're going right straight to the image booth. But,
It's apples and oranges, man. People who are going into the small press area are not necessarily going into the image area. So that's sort of an unfair stat. Sorry.
But what happened is, last year I was there, but like I said, I was really apprehensive, but the guy who ran the small press area really wanted me there, really pushed me, so I went. And it turned out to be really great. I mean, people came up to me who had seen my stuff, my first independent book, and said, wow, I've been looking for this, what happened to this? And having a place there, people finding me, I found out that I did have readers, that I did have a bit of an audience out there. And even this year, it's been slower than I anticipated, but I still, the promotion aspect is incredible because I get to meet contacts. A lot of professionals come and see me because, again, they know my stuff, they promote me. So.
Let's not forget that it is also time consuming. We're all sitting here on panels and in booths, signing autographs and doing other things. We're not actually drawing our comic books. That goes for designing an ad. This newsletter took me, and he also founded the San Diego Con, and now he wants to get in on the small press thing.
If you want to do a direct sales book and have a lot of sales, I mean, that is the only avenue. But if you're just, I'm going to bring this to a smaller level. I don't know how many of you out there have those kind of big books. Again, in the small press, if you just want to communicate, if you have material that's really, esoteric, you have to accept that you might not have a big audience, but there you can find an audience. Again, I work in the small press community. I can give you information about that, and you can start getting your stuff out there that way. Just by going to Kinko's doing 100, 150 copies. And it might go, you will get a mailing list. I mean, I've gotten mailing lists from these last two times, especially this time. People this time around, they're more familiar with my work. They seem even really committed to wanting to keep track of what I'm doing. So
there's another thing you can do. You go around when you travel to different cities or when you go to different conventions and get business cards from retailers, get their phone numbers, get their addresses, get on their fax machines. That's a way to go direct to them.
One of the things that everything's wide open. It's Dodge City out there. I mean, you've got
talking about going to retailers. Again, if you have, in the small press, there's a group of retailers who do support small press material. It's just a matter of finding them. Like I know Comic Relief in Berkeley is pretty good at it, and there's other places. The other thing is kind of what you were saying is knowing your audience. And again, if you have alternative style work, it's going to be tough, I think, going in a catalog. And you have to know who your audience is. For example, when you did Wolf and Bird, I know you went to like law journals and stuff like that too.
Well,
they came to you. Okay, but that was
But you bring up an interesting point.
Yeah.
You see, it's always tough for me to say this because it sounds very arrogant. But I'm not so much looking for a small press. Like I am convinced my book, Wolf and Bird, has a much wider, is able to bring in more customers than what the retail is. It's a great book to introduce to brand new people off the street, people that wouldn't normally read, not traditional comics. I mean, the trouble with the comics industry right now is I have a feeling a lot of people, and I'm talking about people at the very top of the major companies and distributors, they've gotten so close to what is being done. They don't see that no one else understands what's going on. Only in the comics industry can an esoteric thing like Zero Hour be considered mainstream, and Bone is considered the alternative press. I mean, no, Bone is mainstream. That is what anybody, it's totally accessible. Zero Hour, look, I've been reading comics since I was a kid. I don't even know what the hell it is. I can't make heads or tails of it.
Neither can they.
Neither can they. But this is what I mean about earlier, the eye of the storm. Things are changing very rapidly, and I've talked to a lot of retailers, and that's your best advertisement. The retailers, they're tired of this. They want books that make sense. They want books that they can sell to that non-comics reader.
Personally, I don't ever want to do that again. So I don't give a crap if any of my stuff goes on TV or not. I'm a cartoonist. I do funny books. That's it. That's the way I feel about it. But there's a couple of my partners who are real.
The worst thing to do is to solicit something, and then usually, I mean, the classic example is Pitt, number 2, 3, whatever. I mean, the worst thing to do is to not come out with that second or third book when you say that it's going to be there. So far, I have not solicited anything that has not been complete. I've never, James Owen's classic Battle with Dave Sim, whatever, to be the other monthly book, or whatever that whole thing was about. I've never said I was a monthly comic book. I never said I was going to do 300 issues. I never said I was going to stay monthly. All I've ever said is that I'm not going to solicit anything that isn't finished, because I don't want to run into the problem of having people expecting it on a certain date, and it doesn't show up. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do, is just break promises. This is like any other business. You start breaking promises, you're dead.
You start losing credibility.
You lose credibility, the fans get tired, get fed up. There's plenty of other comic books to read, and you're out there competing with all of them. So, if you can only do a book every other month, stick to that. At least, you'll build up a following, and those people will respect you for putting out a good book every other month.
Yeah, and after a couple of years, you'll have a few books, I mean,
and especially when you're starting out, you're going to be doing trade shows, you really have no idea how much time is involved in all this stuff, and you're going to find out, how much time is involved in doing the advertising, the promotion, and the solicitation. It's not a great deal after you learn what's involved, but, I've been on a 12-day road trip. I went to the Dallas.
Because I don't know a lot about it, but I heard that DC was doing something like that. Wow, that's surprising, because I know that there would be copyright problems.
I had a conversation with both Tom DeFalco and Paul Evans about this. We discussed the logistic problems about it about a year ago. And their lawyers are looking into it, our lawyers are looking into it. The problem is really one of logistics.
Yeah, someone, just offhand, on that, you say, I know the black and white was going to show a rate on that, so, I didn't know they were doing that, but obviously, again, copyright comes because you just dump it out, and then they can recopy your comic book.
Right. Also, once you've dumped, once you've created a hard copy of that piece, it's very easy to go down to Kinko's and make a whole bunch of them. So you gotta.
Well, I really think like 20 years from now we'll all be talking about. Yeah, you remember when we compiled mailing lists? Remember when there was actually mail before everything was electronic?
This guy over here.
Yeah, can you just take us through all the timing and how early do you start advertising all the way to payment?
I started in January of this year. At my first issue, I sent out my packets to the 8 or 10 distributors. I said, here's my book. This is a complete Xerox. It's finished. In fact, I sent them all 4 issues at once. I sent them the solicitation information in January. That was for the March-May catalog. In other words, the catalog came out in March. The book actually comes out in May. Everything is your responsibility, but you don't want to have everything happening at once. So you have to learn organization. And I'm an artist. I'm the most undisciplined, just scatterbrained. We are all,
Do yourself, but it's like every other job or business. It's difficult, it's risky, it's hard work, and if you follow the right steps and eat properly, you can do it. You can do it yourself.
Brush your teeth after every meal.
Come down to the fabulous charity art auctions at the back.
Tom should also show the wonderful. Oh boy, that'd be so
No, 14.
Xavier Ruiz, please pick up your...
Zero-hour panel. I'd like to turn the microphone over to the people on the panel, let them introduce themselves and what they're currently working on right now.
Okay, I'm Mike Carlin. I'm the executive editor of the DC Universe, and what we're all working on right now is Zero Hour, because that's going to be actually the only DC Universe comic that comes out next week, which is kind of cool. Because the universe...
Or at least cheap.
That's right. It'll be an easy week for you guys. And he actually volunteered to work on this project. Usually we have to trust
We're going to sell him some real estate right after this film.
My immediate left here is Dan Jurgens. Writer and artist of Zero Hour and Superman. To my immediate right is Denny O'Neil. And he's the group editor in charge of the Batman line of books. To his right, yes, Batman. All right. Stretch. To Denny's right is Jerry Ordway. Inker on Zero Hour and writer and artist on Superman and Power of Shazam. And last but not least, Archie Goodwin, ladies and gentlemen.
What does he do? No one knows. But I'm a fun guy to have at the office, so they leave me alone.
Archie, actually, we don't know what he did up until Zero Hour, because after Zero Hour, he's got about 15
I began to vanish.
15 books are launching after Zero Hour, so he's going to have to leave the convention and get back to work real soon. All right, DC panel. I guess, does anybody up here want to say anything about Zero Hour or what's coming after it, or should we just open it up to questions? I guess that answers that.
Questions are good.
Questions. Are we going to have anybody running around with a mic
You
here?
want me to run with the mic? You want Casey to run with the mic?
Ned, here he goes.
Ned is running with the mic.
Ned,
All right,
here we go,
Ned.
Ned.
Go.
All right, guys. Getting Ned.
Based on what we saw in Zero Hour #1, are we ever going to see a square off between Superman and the former Green Lantern, Hal Jordan?
Okay, Superman and the former Green Lantern. I don't think we have any plans for that, and you may understand why when you read 00 for the immediate future.
How are you going to fix the fact that Metropolis is level?
That's easy. That, in a blink of an eye, that's going to be the easiest thing ever fixed.
Is there going to be like a Bruce Wayne Bane rematch?
Going to be a Bruce Wayne Bane rematch? Yeah, we will have a one-shot Vengeance of Bane 2 out sometime next year, and that'll get them back together again.
be a zero-hour book like the Death of Superman book with all the comics into it?
Yeah, there will be, actually, and,
How much you got?
just come up here and empty your pockets.
There will be a zero-hour trade paperback. It is scheduled to ship in 2 weeks, I believe. It collects the 5-issue miniseries and also includes the 2 prelude showcase stories.
I was talking to Mason Reese the other day at the support group, and when he was doing the Underwood commercials, he'd often get paid off with a case of deviled ham. I mean, he was just a kid. They take advantage of you every chance they get. It's just not fair, though he did eat well. Producers used to scour the orphanages for kids easy to exploit. Cute little orphans pillaged and plundered like a price club in an LA riot. You know, those nuns were notorious for selling their kids. They'd say, God didn't give you parents, so you have to work. Then they'd get a 40% cut on all we made, and for the nuns, it's non-taxable income. Famous exploited orphans. The names go on and on. It's haunting, really. Jackie Cooper, Robert Blake, me, and who could forget Buster? Yeah, Buster and I lived at that same orphanage. And I'll never forget the day that flashy-dressed agent from the Catskills came in and had old Buster sign away his life. But he made out okay in the end. Here's Pops at a play doing what he used to call his retirement plan. Sure, he gambled the way gamblers gamble. I mean, they say it's a sickness, like staying late at the zoo to watch the wombats mate, and I had for bus fare for him. He had sold his car and gambled away all his cash, and I felt sorry for him. So I wired him the money, then he gambled that away too. He wouldn't learn. He hitched his way back to LA, and that was the beginning of the end for Pops. I didn't know it then, but in the 60s, Pops had ties to the mafia. Hell, he used to visit Jack Ruby in jail. Pops was there when he died in '67. It really shook him up. He said Ruby used to carry on about some guy named Bannister. I don't know what it all meant. But there was some deep stuff going on, deeper than even Pops knew. It was Pops' friendship with Ruby that really messed up his life. He got into the nightclub business with Ruby. It was a combination spaghetti house and strip joint. You remember Noodles and Nookie on Sunset? Anyway, the gambling debts kept piling up, and then Johnny Montana, some boss from Miami, came to LA one summer, broke Pop's legs, and took over the club. Forced Pops to sign the title over to him. It was really humiliating. And after the show was canceled, some of the old gang used to hang out at his club. Trixie couldn't get anything going with her career. She tried modeling, did a couple of local yokel commercials, but nothing really ever came together for her. So she started hanging around Pops more and more. Pops was like a real father to her. Kind, considerate, abusive. That's why it never made sense to me how he could, I'm sorry, I still, it's difficult for me to forgive Pops for what he did. Trixie was vulnerable, and she'd do anything Pops asked her to do. And some of the things he asked her to do were, well, let's just say Trixie worked a lot of the time on her back.
Fix Jake's car, Pops would say to her. Check the transmission. Change the oil.
He was cruel, very cruel. He treated her like some low-life grease monkey, and then she turned sour. Hell, Pops gave more respect to Chim Chim than Trixie. Sour? Yeah, I guess you could say she turned sour. If you wanted to trivialize what happened, Trixie used to call it her nightmare of ecstasy. Wow, it's just amazing people do this sort of thing in front of a camera. Let's just say Trixie made movies. Okay, let's say they were adult movies. Pops produced them. But only for a couple of years, and I guess the disgust finally got to him too. Because of his fascination for cars, all the films had this bizarre automotive fetish running through them. Let's see, there was Backseat Bonanza, Blowout on Route 69, and on and on. Pop tried to get me involved in one called Crankshaft. Of course, I turned him down. And Trixie was an easy mark for Pops. Like I said, she'd do anything for him. I remember one picture in particular, Lube Job. There was a scene where Trixie was shown using cocaine, and I thought it was movie stuff, you know, stunt coke, but it was the real thing. And she got hooked on it, and that was that. And if you study her movies, you can actually see the descent of Trixie. It's very sad. I used to call Trixie all the time. We talked about a lot of things. I told her more than once that Pops was bad news. She said she knew, but she didn't have anywhere else to go. She was as dependent on Pops as cocaine. And I offered that she should stay with me, but she didn't want to infect my life or my toilet seat. Hey, it was the late 70s, what do we know? It was always, this is the last one, Spritle. Then I'd find out she was back at it again. It's the only love she ever knew. Hollow, vacant, exciting yet dangerous. She invited me to the set one day and I didn't go. I couldn't stand the idea of seeing her on all fours. I didn't even like it when Chim Chim crawls around like that. It's so dehumanizing. Okay, speaking of dehumanizing, do you remember Sparky? Yeah, that's right. He played the mechanic. He was a one-man pit crew. You may have seen that piece 60 Minutes did on Sparky, the elusive Sparky, the millionaire mechanic. There was a rumor floating around that Sparky was driving the car that ran James Dean off the road. Boy, I'll tell you, people can be downright vicious. Of course, that never happened. Those who knew Sparky knew that he didn't drive. In fact, he was terrified of cars. That piece on 60 Minutes really brought back memories for me. I was very impressed that he'd become such a decent and respectable business tycoon, inventor of the automobile airbag. I mean, he played his cards right. Got the technology patented, lobbied for government support, then sold the technology to the car giants. And I thought it was interesting when Mike Wallace said, for a guy so terrified of cars, it makes sense that he'd make his millions coming up with a way of making them safer. I mean, Mike Wallace has this way of really penetrating the surface, doesn't he? Fortunately, Wallace didn't say anything about Sparky's homosexuality. Looking back, I wonder if Sparky liked Trixie because he wanted to hide his preference for men. Or because she sort of looked like Speed with lipstick. Trixie tried meeting up with Sparky after he became so successful. I mean, she was desperate. Sparky had given her a check for an enormous amount of money, but she never cashed it. He didn't know why, but I do. It wasn't money she needed to rescue her from her nightmare of ecstasy. No, what Trixie needed was love. The love of a good man. Unfortunately, Sparky was in love, but it was not the kind of love that only another man can know. The gentle but rough rubbing of 5 o'clock shadows against 5 o'clock shadows, the squeaking of tight leather pants in the dark.
Hey, Spritle, this is a family show.
You're right, there was no rubbing. They had shaved. Let me pull back a moment. Let me leave the leather pants behind, way behind. For what's behind you can no longer hurt you, but it can make you feel a whole lot better.
What's that supposed to mean, Spritle?
I'm not sure, but Sparky used to say it a lot. I was a victim. I don't think it ever went public, but when the show went on, I mean, I was hooked on painkillers. I mean, all those scenes where I'd stow away in the trunk of the Mac 5 would really play havoc on my back, so they gave me some pills to take away the wincing. Then in order to jolt me back into life, the production manager would slip me a few uppers. That's what made me crave candy. Sweets of any kind. God, I could eat a pound of sugar a day. I contacted Alan Dershowitz to see if he'd help me sue the giant candy conglomerate Candy Co., but he said I didn't have a case. When, Spritle, will people learn, Alan said. When will people take responsibility for their own lives? When, Spritle, when? And he hung up. I heard a dial tone for 5 minutes before I came to my senses and hung up the phone. I mean, Alan was so profound, even long distance. I mean, if you were in the audience today, I'd say, Mr. Dershowitz, you don't know what's good for you when you're a kid. That's what adults are for. But when the adults in your life are a little short of being role models, when their only real worth is as an animation cell on the collector's market, you're going to be a victim. And that's what I was. And that's why I want to sue Candy Co. The writers on this show thought it was cute that Chim Chim and I were sugar fiends. So they wrote it into the show, which only made it worse for us. I mean, we eat candy on stage, off stage, under the stage, anywhere. I guess that's why Chim Chim and I always seemed wired on the show, because we were. I mean, I was a symbol for a whole generation of quick-fix sugar junkies propelling almost single-handedly a $58.5 billion sugar industry. I have cavities the size of Rhode Island. Of course, it all took its toll. I'm a diabetic. In fact, this is rather embarrassing. It's time for my injection, and I hope you don't mind. This reminds me of a little poem.
that I wrote for a contest to win a year's supply of syringes from the 3M company. I lost, but here's the poem anyway. You can win, poke me through your skin, I'll save you from the fringe, on your personal syringe, please don't cringe. I'm very trusty, but throw me away, right away, should I get rusty. It's terrible, I know. It's horrible. Believe me, I'd rather have a Reese's cup. But alas, it would be the death of me. And for old time's sake, I still like chewing gum, but it's sugarless, tasteless, meaningless. Modern life, when it is indulged, loses its flavor, its sweetness, its significance.
Bridal Racer.
Yes, it's me, Bridal Racer.
Bridal Racer. Haven't I told you to stop waxing?
Yes, I've been told, but when have I ever listened to authority figures?
You have been warned. What are you doing, Bridal Racer?
My show. I have a show.
What? You have a show? What kind of show is it?
Well, it's a one-man show.
Do you have slides? Who's the star, Bridal Racer?
David Cassidy. Well, it's me tonight. He's sick.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I love David Cassidy. I think I love you.
God, I hate insulin. It always gives me these little diabetic nightmares. Pain. I still feel it. In the 70s, when I was detoxing, I had one of those operations where they remove your tear ducts. I used to have uncontrollable fits of crying. I mean, the doctors told me if I had my ducts removed, my emotions would calm down. But it doesn't work. You've probably seen those ads on late-night TV. Control your emotions with one easy operation. Well, if there's anyone out there thinking of getting one of those operations, I'm testimony that they don't work. And the eye drop bills are ridiculous. I guess it's a lot like getting circumcised. No, wait a minute. It's nothing like that. Anyway, the jury's still out on whether a tear ductectomy is worthwhile. I say no. If you gotta cry, then do it. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Chim Chim and his sister. Yeah, Chim Chim's sister Judy played the bloop on Lost in Space. I remember how Judy hated that costume. They actually glued the bloop's ears onto her. Her hair never grew back after that. She used to radio messages to Chim Chim until the Jupiter 2 got out of range. One of her last messages to Chim Chim still haunts me to this very day.
I have no hair, Chim Chim. We can't find Alpha Centauri. When I'm cold, Dr. Smith visits me, and we're still lost in space.
It's a shame, you know. I mean, the Robinsons never were found. Poor Will. Poor Penny. I mean, what a waste. And it was all because of Dr. Smith. I mean, they say he was a little light in his loafers. Well, let's say he didn't leave any footprints. Dr. Smith was scary. Very scary. Will told me Dr. Smith used to love pulling the robot's power pack in and out and in and... I'm sorry, I'm not here to spread rumors. I've been trying to keep this a family show. Never mind what Dr. Smith used to do. The important thing is that he'll never be able to do it again. You know, Lost in Space was never officially canceled. The network just stopped receiving transmissions. And then our show got canceled, and Chim Chim got lucky. I mean, his agent got him a gig on the Beverly Hillbillies. He played one of Ellie Mae's pets. Yeah, he did real well. He used to date Ellie, too. But when Jed found out, he put an end to it right away. Ellie, Jed would say, it just ain't right for a young'un to be sparking with a critter.
Who was Jed fooling anyway? Did he think that it was strange Ellie and I were a hot item? Come on, he was from Tennessee.
Chim Chim, settle down. You're gonna offend someone, okay? Let's talk about all the wonderful things that happened to you.
Jed was a weak man. My grandfather was a flying monkey in The Wizard of Oz. He told me Jed couldn't play the Tin Man because of aluminum paint poisoning. He went by the name Buddy back then. And that's why I say Jed is a weak man. And Ellie was a hairless angel.
Well, Chim Chim went on to become the technical advisor for Planet of the Apes. And he has an autographed picture of Roddy McDowell that I really want. Okay? The true winner. Speed's brother. The mysterious Racer X. Not so mysterious anymore, though. What a career, huh? I mean, I still remember the day that he made the announcement that he was Racer X. It shocked a lot of people. I don't think anyone ever suspected Clint Eastwood was Racer X. I know I didn't. I mean, he was pretty cool. He used to think he was played, I used to think he was played by Steve McQueen, but then Steve died. I bought Clint's mask at Christie's auction. I paid $50 and got it. Of course, that was before Clint made the announcement. Obviously, Speed always had a hunch about Racer X's true identity, but it was in his best interest to keep it hush-hush. I mean, they were big rivals. I think the real slap in the face came when Clint became mayor of Carmel by the Sea. Caramel. I love candied apples. I love caramel corn. Hello. My name is Spritel Racer, and I am a diabetic. Insulin, drugs, death. I mean, Pops felt guilty about Trixie's death. I mean, she OD'd while working on one of his movies. I mean, the press was vicious to Pops, called him the Prince of Pills, the King of Cocaine, the Boss of Barbiturates, the Dean of Drugs, the Pride of the Yankees. Could have been worse, but I can't imagine how. Those were vicious times. All the good people were gunned down. But I digress. Where was I? Oh, yeah. It was never the same after Trixie died. Pops had to appear in court to clear his name. He had been implicated. One of the papers broke a story that Pops had actually been with Trixie the night she died. I mean, they claimed he left when she was still alive and that he supplied her with cocaine. And Pops spent a small fortune on legal fees, but in the end he was exonerated, and that was in 1980. Sure, I blame myself too for not taking a stronger stand. I imagined myself storming onto the set. Then I chickened out, I froze. I guess I never wanted to believe it was happening. Not to Trixie. Well, there was a sense of release in '82 when Pops was found bludgeoned to death in a Fleabag hotel in Vegas. The police never found out what happened. I mean, there were rumors that Pops was deep in a gambling debt and that he couldn't pay up. Trixie and Pops are both dead now. I know, I was there. I can remember like it was yesterday. There I was in Trixie's apartment. She was dead naked. I had a feeling that maybe Ted Kennedy had been there before me. Ooh. Yes, it's true. Trixie was having an affair with Teddy. She said she stopped going out with him because she was terrified of his driving. You know, the Kennedys were really reckless drivers. I'll never forget when I went to the Smithsonian and saw that limo his brother was in. There were no tears in Speed's eyes when I told him about Trixie's death. I was intrigued by Speed's eyes. They were deep, coal black, very penetrating. Speed's vision kept getting worse. And towards the end of the show, his driving got pretty bad. A couple of his stunts caused major accidents. His timing was off because he couldn't see. He'd fall down steps. Finally, he started wearing contact lenses, and they really magnified his saucer eyes. I mean, some people thought he was on drugs, but I'm here to say that it was just bad vision. The only drug Speed was on was the drug of self-love and fame. I mean, he was deluded then, and probably still is. A certain degree of self-importance is good, I suppose, but for Speed, there was no degree. I mean, his self-importance knew no bounds. He was an unbridled, querulous bronco who bucked the system and the ones who loved him.
But that's why kids loved him. He drove a fancy sports car, he saved the world, and he had Trixie fawning all over him. The boy was in control, Spritle. He had the magic.
It was like that from the start, huh, Chin Chin? I remember the first day of shooting, the very first episode. There was this cute little bit where Speed was to race toward the camera and the Mach 5 stop, look toward the camera, and gives the thumbs up signal. Simple, cute. But Speed thought it was corny, so he blew up. Right there, in front of everyone. I thought for sure Mr. Yoshida would fire him. The show was new, Speed could have been replaced, but the director cowered. He thought Speed had the right look. He could replace the acting, but only Speed looked like that. So, Speed worked out this incredibly technical shot where the Mach 5 races into a seamless background. As Speed hops out of the car, he freezes in a dynamic pose at the car's side. The camera stays locked on the shot, then the whole set, built on a huge turnstile, pivots as if to change angles. I mean, it shows Speed in front of the Mach 5. I can't do it. Anyway, it was a very impressive effect. No one had ever done anything like that in a cartoon before. Chuck Jones tried a similar effect, but he couldn't get Porky to move just right. In the end, this Speed-designed shot cost a fortune, and it almost took all day to shoot it. But the director liked it so much he used it in the title sequence. Oh my God, I don't remember this. Chim Chim must have taken it. But Another one? What is this? Some sort of joke? At the end of the day's filming, we all went to a diner to grab a bite. I had 2 cheeseburgers, a plate of French fries, 3 hot fudge sundaes, and a chocolate milkshake. Hey, the studio was going to pick up the tab. Besides, I wasn't diabetic then. The waitress made Chim Chim stay outside, so I snuck some food out for him.
Yeah, and they didn't tip the waitress, the bitch.
Anyway, as we were eating, there was this song playing on the jukebox. It was the Turtles, Happy Together. The combination of the music, the food, the fluorescent lighting, it all seemed to crystallize into one single perfect moment. I mean, we were all happy together. It felt so good about everything. I felt so good about everything. It made me really appreciate the power, the beauty, the wonder, and the splendor of music. I guess that's where my desire to become a rock star came from. A lot of people don't know this, but I was the lead singer for the Archies. They canned me after Bang Shang-a-Lang because I asked Don Kirshner if I could be credited as lead singer. He said, the Archies are the Archies, and that's all. I don't need no Spritle, he said. I don't need no Spritle. And I was shocked. Not only was I rejected, but I realized Don Kirshner used improper English. I mean, I think a lot of my musical talent came from my schooling. The orphanage school had lots of money, so they were able to buy lots of instruments. The orphanage got its funding through the church. And as I mentioned before, by selling orphans to Hollywood. Father Bob knew all about that. A pretty friendly guy. Perhaps too friendly. He always warned me about those Hollywood types. He used to ask me to bring back satin from Japan. He said he loved the feel of it. It was one of the reasons he joined the priesthood. He loved the satin robes. And when I think about that now, it seems strange to me. But then again, it seems perfectly normal for Father Bob. I tried to get Father Bob to talk to Trixie after she got tangled up with Pops. But Father Bob said something very odd to me then, and I'll never forget the words he uttered. Spritle, he said, don't bring me Trixie. Bring me satin. Yeah. I guess you could say I've been through a lot. I've seen things that would disgust the normal guy. But I've kept my head up, embraced what little dignity God gives us, and went on. I may not be famous. I may not be cool. I may not even wear designer racing gloves. I may not even be made of flesh, but when I was good, I was damn good. And when I ate candy, I ate it like nobody's business. And when I had long, rambling speeches that didn't make any sense, I delivered them with the power and conviction of an artist because the Japanese told me to. I was a dedicated studio player. I knew who was buttering my bread and I knew who was eating it. I just had no idea, though, that my career would be an all uphill after Speed Racer.
Magic waves rain down. Sprite will get name on TV. Get paid TV full of waffle.
Who are you?
Me TV Indian test pattern man. Me never speak of before. Me stuck on cloud gray tube while white man sleep. Me Sprite's voice of reason and madness. Me say, time for you to go.
Where am I going?
To faraway land where you live forever. A place called Nickelodeon.
I've heard of such a place.
Come, Sprite.
But what about my show?
It is okay. Tomorrow, David will return.
Any questions or anything you'd like to share with us? This is a work in progress. I mean, we'd be more than happy to field questions or criticisms, not in Sprite, but I mean on the show. John, you want to come on?
Have you thought of incorporating anything about the new Speed Racer show?
Have you thought about incorporating anything?
Just do anything.
Do anything?
Yeah. All right, that's fine. Yeah.
So,